So, I really love small motorcycles. I think that's pretty obvious if you guys have been watching my channel for any time. And this is your Fast Life motorcycle channel, the most awesome motorcycle channel in the universe. I originally considered getting 1000cc bikes because they're so light. And I was like, why am I so focused on small bikes anyway? The bigger bikes can be nimble as well, so what's the big deal? Well, I sort of got this affinity for smaller motorcycles quite some time ago, and by this point I had kind of forgotten why. I just loved them. I started buying them and riding them, and years went by, and I was just always focused on small bikes, not even remembering what the root of the situation is. So today I was riding the RC390 as part of my Dream Bike series, buying 10 years worth of bikes in 1 year, going through the history of motorcycles, my personal history, but not repeating in terms of what I did before. I'm going through history sort of as a second opportunity. Knowing what I know now, what would I do differently if I were starting over? That kind of thing. But at the end of my quest, I'm going to find my dream bike. So I've been spending a lot of time thinking about what really excites me about motorcycles. And one of the factors that I was focused on is definitely small bikes. I rode the Honda Goldwing, which was amazing. It's a heavy bike, but I was actually very amazed by how nimble it was. And that allowed me to realize that it's not really about how heavy or light a bike is. It's more about how nimble it is, because a bike being nimble is one of the things that attracts me. But today, what my eureka moment was that made me connect perhaps why it is I'm focused on small bikes. So one of the reasons anyway, and I will say that again, one of the reasons, not perhaps. I'm sure this is only one of the reasons, because there's plenty of other reasons why I like small bikes. But one of the reasons is I do a lot of city riding. I have a good amount of potential of riding in a traffic situation. Now, in traffic and in city riding, if you're trying to make time and you're moving as aggressively and quickly as I can many times, then you're talking about many times where you're pushing the limits of maneuverability, you're pushing the limits of maneuverability at slower speeds. So we're talking about speeds, I would say, peaking at maybe 45 miles per hour is high. Probably more around the 30 mile per hour range is more of an average speed when I'm moving in the city conditions. So you're talking about, sharp maneuvers at 10. I would say sharp maneuvers at 8 to maybe 25 miles per hour, because 25 miles per hour is about as fast as I'm going to go if, let's say, I'm splitting through traffic, right? So these are the situations where a lot of maneuverability is critical. So I'm splitting through traffic at 25 miles per hour, maybe 25, 26, 27, right? I need to be ready at any moment in time. Someone could pull in front of me. I need to be able to sort of dip out and, basically outmaneuver that person, right? See them starting to pull into my lane and signal, have an escape trajectory and basically make a sharp dip into a safe zone away from this person that's running into my path. Sometimes you need to cut through one lane and then cross over another lane. There's a lot of sort of snaking through traffic situations going on. Now, as nimble as, the ZX-10 is and many of these bigger super sport bikes, I was doing a lot of dipping and snaking through traffic on the RC390, and I thought to myself, this is my eureka moment. man, oh man, I would not want to be doing this on a big ZX10, or ZX10R rather, right? 1090 Brutale, pretty much any 1000cc bike. The concerns I would have are not only the size, the weight, but also maneuverability at lower speeds, the amount of usable power at those speeds that is available on tap type of situation. So there's a lot of factors to consider. But ultimately, I think one of the big draws for me to small bikes is if I'm going to be snaking through traffic, the ultimate solution for me as far as a motorcycle would be a small motorcycle with a lot of low-end and mid-range grunt. So you're talking about a thumper like the KTM RC390, which does pretty damn good going through traffic. Also, I would say even a bike like a Daytona 675R, I think is very nimble and quite appropriate. Smaller bike, nimble for the snaking through traffic scenarios. So that's my dilemma. This is a riding condition that's going to be very, very common for me, is very common for me. And then you have, I'm going to want to do twisties, right? So twisties, I want to be able to flick it through the corners. But then there's also on the highway where I'm going to want that ability to make aggressive passes, meaning, if I see a gap that's 1,000 feet ahead of me, a safe gap, I want to be able to twist that throttle and accelerate instantly to that gap, and then make my safe lane change into the gap that I wanted to fill. Let's say right turn, so I put on a right turn signal, make sure it's safe, and then pull into that gap. So, I really think that there is a tremendous value for smaller, lightweight bikes as far as for a lot of the riding that I do. I spend a lot of time in twisties as well, but commuting is a daily thing, right? A daily thing, and again, that ultra maneuverability is huge in those types of situations. And then you have to even consider the cost. Those bikes, more expensive, and when you're commuting, you're potentially leaving it, depending on your setup, right? Maybe you might be leaving it on the street and things like that, and you don't want to end up having it be stolen. So a smaller, cheaper, more lightweight, less extreme aggression, something more power delivery that's more sensible, I think is the ultimate city bike. So with that being said, because I do also like that power, in fact, I like a lot of power, violent power on my motorcycle, there may not be a bike that ultimately meets what I'm looking for, because any really small lightweight bike for the most part is going to be small. Let's think about this: a small lightweight bike, right? If those are the main characteristics of the bike, then that means you are not going to have a ton of power, right? Anywhere where you have a ton of power, you're going to have a bigger bike, which equals more weight. So you're talking about a 1000cc, a 1300cc bike. Those are all going to be bigger and heavier bikes. So ultimately, if you want to stay super lightweight, with some exceptions, of course, for the most part, you're going to need to stick with the smaller bikes, because that's really ultimately the way to go. Anyway, I am totally drifting right now. I'm tired. It's late. I spent a lot of time practicing today, dragging my knee, working on my throttle control, and just perfecting some issues that I've been having with my maximum lean angle, aggressive turns, and stuff like that. Now, the weather was perfect. The tires got nice and warm, and I had good grip, and I was just leaning that RC390 and just having a blast, man. I was totally comfortable Only problem was at the end, the mosquitoes came out. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So, just want to do a quick, and I'm going to be doing these, more of these Spreaker type videos. Because a lot of times there's stuff I want to talk about, I want to share with you guys, but, you know, it may not be convenient for me to make like a video. So I want to stay, you know, I want to stay active with you guys and try to provide as much, you know, great information for you that's helpful for you guys as possible. So whenever I think of like good tips and things like that, I'm definitely going to, you know, put together a quick podcast like this and put it up on the channel. So anyway, I would like to thank you guys for listening in live. This is what the hell was that? This is your Fast Life Motorcycle channel, the most awesome motorcycle channel in the universe. Yeah. Your Fast Life Motorcycle channel. Thank you for listening in. Shiny side up, and see you soon.